I just want to make a quick statement. There's been some Facebook come up last night over the animal shelter, and I want to make a clarification. No, I want to make a truthful statement. The animal shelter, when it was formed back a few years ago through the sheriff's department, there was an unspoken and spoken rule to the fact that we did not adopt out pit bulldogs, German shepherds, and Doberman pinschers. We still do not adopt out locally those 3 dogs. 2 main reasons. One of them, we ship them out of the county and let people adopt them from outside of Pickens County, or if they want to take them up north, whatever. The issue we have with those 3 breeds is we don't know how they've been raised when they were puppies. So I am not going to sit on this board and be responsible for some child getting mauled by one of those 3 breeds. Heaven forbid it might happen anyway, but they're not coming out of the Pickens Animal Shelter unless somebody else wants to adopt them from out of the county. Unless somebody wants to sign a contract, possibly, that they're taking total responsibility. But that is my stance on that. Probably will not change my views on that. And I just want to be sure that everybody understands. But we do not put down pit bulls, German shepherds, and Doberman pinschers. But we do not adopt them out in Pickens County either. Anybody got any questions on that one?
I don't know. And just, unless it's for medical reasons.
Oh, well, that's true. We do put them down, not with those breeds or any other breed, unless that breed is in some sort of health issue, whatever. Even when just to give you a quick heads up from the paper here, we've had 2 pit bulldog attacks in the last 4 weeks.
I'm aware of one of them.
We got 2. So that being said, that just reinforces my statement to that. So
What was the Facebook comment they responded to?
I was accused on Facebook that if we brought in a pit bulldog, German shepherd, Doberman pinscher, had my staff to put it down automatically. That is not true. That's a lie. Matter of fact, I'm meeting with the animal shelter crew as we speak. If I find the rumor started from there might be some unemployed people over there when I get over. I might shut the whole darn thing down before it's over. So I know it's on camera, but I don't care. This Facebook thing is getting out of control. My office, I've always had an open door policy. People can always call me, and I just don't adhere to Facebook. People need to get the facts before they jump to conclusions. But anyway, it is what it is. Anybody else want to vent before we get started?
I'm good.
I'm good.
But I am not, personally, I'm not going to be responsible for being in charge of adopting out one of those 3 breeds that maul somebody's child. That's not going to happen here if I can help it in Pickens County. Now, we are going to proceed on. It is now 10 o'clock here. We're going to start this Monday morning work session that we've got coming up. The first item on the agenda is a drug and alcohol policy update. Who is handling the drug? Oh, go ahead. I think it has something to do with our employees.
We basically had a policy done in 2005, and it needed updating the current laws as well as adding a section for DOT employees with CDL licenses. So basically, we had our constable to look it over, and they just basically redone the policy.
Is there anything major changes into that drug and alcohol policy
Just the
update?
main thing is it does have a separate policy now for the DOT covered employees, such as the ones that drive certain trucks.
What is I know what it is, but get Jerry and Becky up. What kind of change do we have with DOT policy of our employees driving?
They have to be tested differently and for other things, and so we have to put them in a different pool. And there's only approximately 5 people in that pool.
What does it do with the employees with fire, EMS? Are they under the same guidelines?
They are exempt from the DOT.
They are exempt?
Yes, the emergency services are.
Okay. So just the road department, water department, and the staff here that's driving county vehicles?
For the DOT policy, mostly the road and water, but we do they did update the whole policy, reasonable suspicion, and just the overall drug-free workplace policy.
Do we test randomly or regularly, or how do we do it?
We do random testing on the safety-sensitive positions.
And this come into effect through our insurance company or through the state regulations, or how does this?
Well, I attended a webinar and it kind of got updated on all the stuff and realized that some of our policies needed updating, and so that's how it came about.
Okay. Gary, you have a question?
I was concerned about, you know, the fire department driving county trucks and stuff too, why they would be,
Yeah.
Well, they are safety sensitive and they are subject to random testing,
oh,
but they don't have to be included in the DOT testing.
And you're still doing all NVRs, keeping an update on all NVRs throughout the year?
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for that, guys? No. Ms. Becky, Jerry, y'all got any? No. All right, well, that brings us down to item number 2 on the text amendment on the commercial outdoor firing and shooting ranges. That has been a topic of discussion here the last few years. You want to give us an update on that?
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Right now in Pickens County, if somebody came into the Planning and Development Office and wanted to develop a piece of property for an outdoor commercial firing range, they would need to get approval of the Board of Commissioners for a conditional use permit, and the property on which it could occur would only be highway business. That's the way it is right now. But also right now, we don't have a definition of what an outdoor commercial firing range is, and we don't have any standards to go along with it. So basically, if somebody came into the Planning and Development Office, applied through all the paperwork, and then it came down to Board of Commissioners, y'all would be reviewing on a case-by-case manner something with no standards. You would just need to take the applicant at their face value and then whatever plan of action they put in their paperwork. But
Now, this is just in regard to a commercial run business for money,
Yes, sir.
for an outside firing range, not for somebody that wants to go in their backyard and are on their pasture and shoot targets or whatever, correct?
right, this has nothing to do with somebody's personal property that's residential, has nothing to do with a nonprofit organization and what goes on their property. Just has to do with a business setting up for profit. So we know where we stand right now, and as proposed and recommended by the Planning Commission, what would be added to what we already have right now is a definition of what a commercial outdoor firing range is, and then some standards to go along with that conditional use permit. Board of Commissioners would still need to review on a case-by-case basis the commercial outdoor firing range. It would still only be allowed in the highway business zoning district, but the standards would be buffer of at least 500 feet along property lines adjacent to residential. Firing activity could not take place within the first 500 feet of all property lines. That is, if you've got a commercial piece of property and it's adjacent to another commercial piece of property, there wouldn't have to be a buffer along that property line, but still the firing activity would have to be at least 500 feet away. The applicant shall list proposed hour of operations. There must be natural or artificial barriers to prevent bullets, shells, or pellets from going on to human occupied areas, and the applicant shall provide a copy of liability insurance. And that was something that one of our board members, actually with a different board, Beer and Wine Board, but who gives us a lot of advice, good advice about insurance and provides the county with some insurance. He recommended that be a part of this.
What is on the insurance issue, what is the basic number on the liability coverage for that they need to bring in here, showing that they've got coverage up to? What's the number?
The board member on the Beer and Wine Board, he said $1 million is a nice round figure, but he said it would vary because he said some places might have a 500-acre piece of property. Some places, depending on topography and what's adjacent to it, you could find a 25-acre piece and it might be okay for it. And it would depend on the use of the property. You know, if you just had one small range versus having a range, a snack bar, a gear shop, all different things, it would depend on. Yeah.
I think, and I'm assuming you're bringing this forth because you want us to do something with it next county commissioner meeting. I would request that you do one thing, and they might have some other suggestions on that. I would like for you to do a survey of counties, neighboring counties especially, but even outside our county, to see what the insurance basis or the average of the insurance, if they've got something nailed down that say, you can't have no less than $5 million liability insurance, or do we need to keep it at $1 million, or why do we need to?
You probably put $1 million in person.
Yeah.
$5 million per accident or something.
Yeah, they're, part
Part of the reason for the requirement was to make sure that there was that use of the property in this manner would not void the current policy, that it was a covered business.
I understand, but also when I was bringing up the subject was the fact that the reason why I wanted to tie it on the insurance, to an insurance company, is because the regulations for an insurance company to insure such properties, their regs are more stiff than what a county or a city or even some of the NRA stuff might be. And so that's why we wanted to tie it on, to let the insurance company regulate it to that point that they would be, if the property didn't meet their standards, and they're not going to get insurance on it.
What I did is looked at all the cities north of I-20 here in Georgia, and there were very few that actually had significant standards about commercial outdoor gun ranges. The ones that were Bartow, Catoosa, Cherokee, Dawson, Forsyth, Gordon, and Raven, and that'll be in a memo that you received in your packet. And those mostly dealt with distance from residential.
Did it do with, any of them done with the amount of money that their insurance companies had to have for liability?
No, sir.
Okay.
So they didn't even request liability, is that what you're saying?
They did not.
Okay.
And then a couple had certain cutoff hours of operation, but when I called Bartow and Gordon that specifically did, they said if they had to go back, they would have it more general, like what we've written, the applicant, to provide proposed hours of operation, because they said, it depends on the season, it depends on, excuse me, basically who hollers the loudest, who's complaining, because some places nobody complains, and then other places, like in Gordon, there's actually a good sized subdivision where you've got 75 on one side, a gun range, and then a good sized subdivision on the other side. And it was initially put in as a just a store, but then expanded to include a store and a gun range. And the subdivision people have really not been happy about that. After that, Gordon County really put in certain regulations, but they said with hours, it's a real tricky subject, and you don't want to necessarily hamper business, but you depending on if there's a special event or something like that, but you also don't want to tie yourself down where if you say, well, anybody can go until 8 o'clock, well, sometimes 8 o'clock is okay, and sometimes 8 o'clock is too late.
Have we had very many requests for this permit?
We had one initially, and then the applicant stated that he is no longer interested.
So we need to be very careful about, 500 foot, I don't think may not be enough. Because we've got some stuff going on up the mountain up there with the people getting aggravated by the gunfire all day long and stuff, and I don't know whether we might be need to look at something a little further
Can
far
these,
than that.
can these things, and I got the attorney sitting here beside us, can any of these regulations be retroactive?
No, sir, and Bartow County found that out the hard way. They really had some issues with one or two in particular, and they tried to retroactively put hours into effect, and they were really had to quit doing that because they were threatened with
It does
lawsuits.
say too, you know,
Yeah.
you get, on highway business, you may have a church over here and they may be having church.
Yeah, we have to look.
Maybe something, you know.
Right, I think, Mr. Barnes, what you mentioned, which is a good consideration, which is a general consideration for any conditional use case that y'all can consider, is topography. Based on if you're, if a holler is nearby, or if, something's way up on a mountaintop, depending on the use, sure.
Any other questions on that? I'd like to look at the fact that, number one, hours, we have to go to a new policy, the hours, and possibly what time they can start in the morning, what time they need to shut down of an evening, and more or less on a Sunday, either no shooting on Sunday or after church time on Sunday, where you don't have gunfire going off all the time. When it happens, heaven forbid, there is one close by. That needs to be sure all this is in that policy before we take a look at it. All right, thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Any further conversation on that? Well, that brings us down to item number 3, a text amendment request on subdivisions with gravel private streets in certain cases. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Over the last 6 months, we've been working with some folks who are interested in about 3,000 acres in northwest Pickens altogether. And the first piece they're most particularly interested in is about 200 acres. And so the road frontage of that particular one is is it called the old LJ Road?
It's on Highway 5, yes.
Yeah, Old Highway 5.
What we call around the 5 Points area.
And what they're looking for, not just for that 200 acres, but potentially for all the 3,000 acres development. And this text amendment would be in effect countywide. So we need to keep that in mind. Even though it's a private application, it would, if approved, be all over.
But what, I thought we had addressed this in a previous meeting and put a halt to that. Is it coming up again?
So the Board of Commissioners in early 2015 had a similar request for developments to occur on gravel streets if they are private developments behind private gates, with some other considerations. And in early 2015, the board voted to deny it. And so these are the same folks coming back again, and they are looking at a smaller road right-of-way. The standard for new developments is 60-foot right-of-way on public or private streets, and the proposal would include 40 feet of right-of-way. The maximum grade would be 16%, which is a typical maximum standard for paved roads. That may have some public safety issues.
And I'm
for
assuming
gravel
they've agreed to
streets.
come up with a $400 million bond, good for 25 years in case one resident in that community decides to pave the roads and wants the county to come in there. That's what I would recommend. We've addressed these issues 3 different times. I know it's not all my call, we can't vote this morning, but I'm still have concerns personally where sometime in the future you still got to run ambulances in there, you still got to run fire trucks in there, and if they could give me some sort of guarantee that 10 years down the road, these people are wondering why we let subdivision come in with gravel roads and they want all the roads paid, want the county to pay for it, and why should my kids and grandkids pay for those roads? I've got those issues personally. We keep dealing with this. They know my opinion and I want to be sure it's on video where they can understand my opinion. But I just, you know,
Well,
I've got issues with that.
I've talked to Sloan and Donnie too, you know, and they have a problem. Anytime you got a gated community or whatever, getting in and out of there, or a small community anyway, it may be a life or death situation every time they go out there. And if they can't get in there, that's not gonna help things.
Right, so before the planning commission voted to recommend one way or the other, there were comments from the fire department stating that there were public safety concerns. One of the members of the planning commission has volunteer fire department experience, and he also discussed public safety concerns related to fire. So based on public safety and utility placement concerns, planning commission recommended denial.
So that can be on the agenda of the next meeting, and then y'all will vote. Okay.
That's correct. All right. That being said, I know that covers what we had primarily, but since it's been a work session, we can discuss any topics coming up. Faye, how you coming with the budgets? Everything's still on schedule?
I still haven't heard from the sheriff. I don't have his budgets. And I think he's pretty busy this weekend. So hopefully I'll get something, or at least some estimated numbers from him next week. And I also don't have the fire departments, but everyone else, I have them, and they're all going up.
Okay. Y'all get more questions to ask Faye?
We'll have enough later.
Yeah, more than likely. Paula, you got anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Nicholson, EOC, anything?
We've updated the rooms, got things looking really good, so we're on schedule.
All right. Richard, anything else that we got brewing on the bank that you need coming up?
No, sir.
Miss Deborah, you got anything? Ms. Planner? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want this work set, unless somebody's got something else for right now, I'm going to call this meeting to an end, and y'all have a safe weekend. Hope you have a safe Labor Day holiday. Y'all take care. This meeting is now adjourned.